Something forms in your frying pan that researchers have linked to DNA damage, accelerated cellular aging, and higher Alzheimer's markers in the bloodstream. It doesn't come from the bad ingredients. It comes from the heat and from oils that were never built to handle it. Here's what the science actually found, and it's more counterintuitive than most of what's online. A Harvard-published study in the New England Journal of Medicine identified the single most dangerous category of cooking oils ever put into the food supply. And it was the processed, solidified version that was sold as a health alternative to butter. Meanwhile, the NIH-funded Farmingham Offspring study, blood markers nearly 3,000 people, found that the fat most demonized in online health spaces actually showed an inverse association with inflammation at typical dietary amounts. Less inflammation, not more. Before we go any further, none of this is about one oil making or breaking your health. The body doesn't work in single ingredient swaps. Real, lasting change comes from consistent patterns, a lot of small decisions that compound over time. What you'll hear today is one real research-supported piece of that picture. Not a cure, not a shortcut, something genuinely worth knowing. All research links are in the description. The first on our list is the trans fats from partial hydrogenation, the most definitively harmful cooking fats ever studied. A 2006 review in the New England Journal of Medicine, written by researchers at Harvard Medical School and Harvard School of Public Health, documented that trans fats from partially hydrogenated oils are causally linked to coronary heart disease, sudden cardiac death, and type 2 diabetes. The authors put it plainly, the adverse effects of trans fats are far stronger on average than those of foods contaminants or pesticide residues. This is not preliminary, it's settled. It's why partially hydrogenated oils were largely removed from the US food supply. Check labels on crackers, packaged pastries, and biscuits. The phrase partially hydrogenated vegetable oil still shows up. The second is partially hydrogenated soybean oil, the industrial baseline. Soybean oil became the dominant fat in 20th century processed food. Partially hydrogenated, it produces the trans fatty acid profile that the Harvard NEJM study identified as causally harmful, damaged blood lipids, promoted inflammation, blood vessel abnormalities. 3 independent cardiovascular risk factors, 1 ingredient, fresh soybean oil at home is a different situation. Partially hydrogenated soybean oil in packaged food is where the subtle science points. The third on this list is partially hydrogenated cottonseed oil, the one that started all of this. Cottonseed oil was the first widely hydrogenated fat used in commercial food production. It was the base for early margarine and shortening. Same hydrogenation process, same trans fat generation, same harms. As a crop, cottonseed is also one of the heaviest pesticide-treated agricultural products not regulated for food crop residue limits in all regions. Avoid it in the partially hydrogenated form on any label. The fourth is partially hydrogenated palm oil, in commercial baking mostly invisible. Natural palm oil is a separate question. Partially hydrogenated palm oil, used in commercial baked goods for texture and shelf life, carries the same trans fat profile as the others. The WHO's Cardiovascular assessment flags palm-derived trans fats alongside all other hydrogenated sources. It's in more packaged goods than most people realize. The fifth here is the compound forming in your pan and what it does. This is where the cellular aging story actually lives. When polyunsaturated oils, soybean, corn, sunflower, safflower, reach frying temperatures, a chemical reaction called lipid peroxidation generates a compound called 4-hydroxynonenal, or HNE. Research from the Journal of the American Oil Chemists Society found that unheated soybean oil contains none of it, but measurable concentrations formed just after 2 hours at 185 degrees Celsius. HNE then chemically binds to proteins, DNA, and cell membranes, a process called covalent adduct formation, meaning it physically attaches to the molecules that run your biology. Research published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found HNE levels in the bloodstream rise after age 40 in healthy people and are significantly elevated in Alzheimer's patients compared to healthy controls. You can't avoid HNE entirely, but you can control how much your stovetop generates. Number 6 on our list is the corn oil at high heat, the omega-6 ratio problem. Corn oil has an omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid ratio of roughly 46:1. That ratio matters because these two fat families compete for the same metabolic pathways in the body. Omega-6 fats metabolize into compounds that include pro-inflammatory prostaglandins and thromboxanes, which is exactly the signaling system the 1982 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine was awarded for discovering. At typical dietary amounts, the research is more nuanced than the internet suggests. But an oil at 46:1, dominant in a diet with little fish or flaxseed, tips the system. Use it cold in dressings if you use it. Don't fry with it. Number 7 is safflower oil, the most lopsided ratio of any common cooking oil. Safflower oil's omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is approximately 77:1. That is not a mistake. It is one of the most polyunsaturated oils in common use, which also makes it one of the least stable under heat. High linoleic acid content plus high temperatures is the combination that generates HNE and related aldehydes. It has legitimate uses cold, light, neutral, fine in dressings. It should not be near a hot burner. 8 is sunflower oil at high heat, around 65:1. Standard sunflower oil runs an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of roughly 65:1. Like corn and safflower, it degrades fast under heat, generating a group of reactive compounds called aldehydes, which research has linked to effects ranging from respiratory irritation to carcinogenicity, including formaldehyde, acetaldehyde, acrolein, and HNE. High oleic sunflower oil is a different product, selectively bred for a more stable fat profile. The label matters here. Standard and high oleic are not interchangeable. 9th is the cottonseed oil in commercial frying, the one you eat without buying. Most people don't put cottonseed oil in their shopping basket. It's common in commercial frying operations and packaged snack foods. Very high omega-6 content. And since cottonseed is not universally regulated as a food crop for pesticide residues, the oil can carry higher residue levels than any other option. If you eat fried snacks or restaurant food regularly, it's frequently in the supply chain. Number 10th on this list is the grapeseed oil. High PUFA, low antioxidants, oxidizes before you see smoke. Grapeseed oil gets marketed on its high smoke point, and that part is technically accurate, but smoke point tells you where visible smoke appears, not when oxidation begins. In a high PUFA oil with low natural antioxidant content like grapeseed, oxidation starts well before the smoke does. It has essentially no built-in protection against the peroxidation that generates toxic aldehydes. Fine in cold applications. For hot cooking, the chemistry doesn't mesh with marketing. 11th on this list is the repeated heating, when one oil becomes something chemically different. Research on thermally oxidized cooking oils, heated multiple times, shows they raise LDL, reduce HDL, and increase markers of oxidative stress in animal studies. Separately, data on smoke point degradation shows that fresh refined soybean oil smokes at around 464 degrees Fahrenheit, but after 3 or 4 frying cycles, the smoke point can fall 20 to 30 degrees, meaning the oil reaches its degradation threshold at temperatures you'd consider normal cooking. The oil in a restaurant deep fryer used through a full lunch and dinner service is chemically nothing like what's in the bottom. At home, don't reuse frying oil. 12th is the vegetable oil blends, the label that tells you the least. Vegetable oil on a label typically means a blend of soybean, corn, and canola in unspecified ratios, processed under high heat in ways that strip most natural antioxidants. You don't know the omega-6 ratio, you don't know the processing conditions, you don't know the oil's age. The issue isn't the generic vegetable oil blends are definitively dangerous. It's that they are the option that gives you the least information when fat quality in the diet actually matters. 13th is the palm oil, the LDL mechanism. Palm oil is roughly 50% saturated fat. A meta-analysis found it significantly raises LDL cholesterol compared to vegetable oils low in saturated fat, an effect comparable to animal fats. The WHO's cardiovascular risk assessment flags palm oil as a contributor to increased cardiovascular diseases risk. This is a different mechanism from the polyunsaturated oil story. Palm oil doesn't generate HNE because saturated fats are heat stable. The concern is LDL elevation. Palm oil is in thousands of processed products: biscuits, crackers, chocolate spreads, ready-made sauces. 14th here is the non-hydrogenated margarine spreads. Better than they were? Still worth reading. Modern margarine spreads have largely eliminated trans fats. That's a real improvement, but many still use refined seed oil blends, often soybean or sunflower, as the primary fat. If the spread's first ingredient is a high-PUFA refined oil, you are using a heavily processed product with a pro-inflammatory fat profile as a daily staple. EVOO-based spreads or plain butter are both more straightforward options for different reasons. 15th is the omega-6 ratio shift, the systemic story behind all of it. Until about 100 years ago, the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in the human diet was around 4:1 or lower. Multiple peer-reviewed analyses, including NIH-published research, document that the Western diet now runs at approximately 20:1. That shift coincides with industrial seed oils becoming the dominant fat in the food supply. The same body of research links this ratio shift to rising rates of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, cardiovascular disease, inflammatory bowel disease, rheumatoid arthritis, and Alzheimer's disease. The word is associated. This is epidemiological and mechanistic evidence, not proof of direct causation in every case. But the Nobel Prize-winning discovery of eicosanoid signaling explains why the ratio is biologically plausible. Omega-6 and omega-3 fats compete for the same enzymes, and the ratio determines which inflammatory signaling molecules your body produces more of. The last is the nuance the internet consistently skips. The NIH-funded Farmingham Offspring study, over 2,000 U.S. adults, red blood cell fat composition measured directly, found that higher linoleic acid content was inversely associated with high IL-6 and C-reactive protein, two core inflammation markers. Higher linoleic acid, lower inflammation, that's the opposite of the dominant narrative on this topic. The researchers concluded that linoleic acid does not appear to promote inflammation at typical dietary amounts. The danger is not a bottle of soybean oil on the shelf. It's heating unstable oils to frying temperatures. It's the 20:1 dietary ratio that accumulates across a whole diet. It's the trans fat versions that are genuinely harmful by settled science. Context determines almost everything here. If there's one place to start, make it heat stability. The PREDIMED trial, with 7,447 participants, one of the largest dietary intervention trials ever run, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, found that people supplemented with extra virgin olive oil had significantly lower rates of major cardiovascular events than the control group. And the mechanism isn't just the monosaturated fat, it's the polyphenols, natural antioxidant compounds that refined olive oil doesn't have. Refinement strips them out. Avocado oil is similarly heat stable, smoke point around 520 degrees Fahrenheit. Butter and ghee doesn't generate HNE at cooking temperatures because saturated fats don't oxidize the way polyunsaturated fats do. You don't have to overhaul everything at once. Start with what's in the pan. Use oils built to handle heat. Save the high PUFA oils if you use them for cold applications where oxidation isn't happening. Don't reuse frying oil and spend 5 minutes reading labels for partially hydrogenated. That's still where the unambiguous, settled science is pointing. All research links are in the description. Take care of yourself from the inside out.